In April of 2014, I was sitting in my car in the IKEA parking lot when I received a phone call from our adoption attorney asking for $2,500. And for the first time in my adult life, I didn't feel immediate fear. I didn't feel my chest tighten. I didn't start to go through that mental math spiral. I didn't wonder, how are we going to make this work? That moment didn't look dramatic, but it marked the first time in my adult life that money didn't scare me. And if you've ever felt your body react to someone saying that kind of number out loud, you know how significant that is. My husband and I got married in 2009, and that's when we started the journey of paying off $116,000 worth of student loan debt. We didn't have a big income or a fancy plan or an inheritance to help us pay off that kind of debt. We just had consistency. Month after month, we made decisions ahead of time, proactively planning where our money was going to go. We said no when it would have been easier to say yes. We said no when it would have been more fun to say yes. We chose progress over comfort, and we tracked every single dollar. By late 2013, we were debt-free. And just a few months later, in April of 2014, we were in the early stages of adoption. I had supplies for the nursery in the back of my car, and I can still remember the smell of the IKEA boxes. I remember sitting there feeling hopeful and terrified at the same time. And the attorney called and said, we need a $2,500 retainer today. And so instead of scrambling, instead of logging into my accounts and moving money and wondering how I was going to cover it, I just read her my debit card number over the phone. And I remember that moment so clearly, even now, almost 12 years later. It felt like such a massive amount of money, but I knew two things. It was necessary, and we had it. We had been preparing and planning for our family for so many years. It wasn't luck, it was structure and consistency and hard work. That was one of the first moments where I knew what margin feels like. It's quiet, it's not celebratory, it's not dramatic, it's just steady. It allows us to make decisions based on our values and not based on fear. Your nervous system doesn't spike when you are living in margin. Your breathing can stay normal and you don't feel like you're constantly behind. But here's also what's important. I was still deep in hustle. At that point in our lives, I had not slowed down. If anything, the hustle intensified over the next several years as I was raising little babies. Because I believed something deeply. Hustle creates stability, but it's a lie. We were growing our family. My husband went back to graduate school. We moved what feels like 100 times. We had little babies, and I was working constantly. At some points, I had 25 plus clients at a time. I worked every single day, weekends included. Some seasons, I worked every single day for an entire year. And I thought if I could just stay ahead, if I could keep producing, if I could keep earning, then we would be safe. Debt freedom gave us breathing room, but I still believed that my output was my worthiness, that my production was what gave me value. And here's what I understand now. Paying off debt helped us build that margin, but I still believed the lie that hustle is the only way to create security. Debt freedom gave us space, but I believed that my output is what determined our safety. And underneath that was something deeper. I believed that my output determined my worth. Hustle can look responsible. Our culture rewards hustle and hard work. It can look disciplined. It can even look faithful. But sometimes it's just fear dressed up as productivity. The irony is this: the steadiness that I felt in that IKEA parking lot did not come from the hustle. It came from years of making decisions proactively and doing it with consistency. It came from structure. For almost 20 years now, we've used the same simple system to make money decisions before the month begins. That system allowed us to pay off $116,000 worth of student loan debt, to pay cash for an adoption, to survive the season of owning 2 homes at the same time, and to make career decisions based on freedom instead of pressure. It's not complicated, but what it does is it helps you see what you're actually working with in reality, make intentional trade-offs without feeling guilt or shame, and carry money forward for real-life expenses, reduce financial surprises and the mental load. That's why I call it the money decision that creates options. Because that $2,500 moment, it was an option. We weren't forced, we weren't scrambling, we were choosing. And options change everything. If you want structure, if you want help with your money in a simple way, you can use the link below to download this free resource. It's not magical. I wish it was. But it helps you create structure to lower stress, shame, and panic. I don't believe that money is a sign of righteousness. I don't believe that wealth equals blessing. But I do believe that stewardship matters. How we spend our time and our money reveals what we actually value. Stewardship isn't hoarding or holding on to the things that you feel like you need. It's about being able to respond when life asks something of you. That $2,500 was the first time I realized that we could respond without fear. But the part I didn't quite understand yet was even after that moment, even after understanding what margin feels like, I didn't change my operating system. I kept hustling because I still believed that hustle was what kept us safe, that it was up to me to keep us safe. It would take almost another decade for me to realize hustle doesn't create stability. It just creates exhaustion and the illusion of control. I'll share more about what I've learned the hard way in my next several videos. I hope you'll join me. If you're in a stage where money feels like tension, like stress, or even shame, start by building structure. Download the money decisions that create options below. Not to restrict yourself, but to create options, to build quietly. Because when you have structure, you're able to say yes when an option comes that aligns with your values.